March Madness is here.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, this episode, it's brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. You're going to need it. We got a lot of NCAA tournament games to watch.
You don't have the adrenaline just flowing through your veins from it starting. You're going to need one.
Right. We're past the playing games. Yesterday was the first set of round of 64 games. You got another set today. You got round of 32 this weekend. You're going to need some energy.
Yeah, you are. This is the best time, too. I mean, because it just all day, just turn it on at like 10, 11 in the morning, and you're just riding until, I don't know, someone tells you to turn off the TV. Like, it's just.
Right. All right, so we got to get into it. Like we said, March Madness is here. Mississippi State takes on Baylor. That's later on today. It's just before 1 o'clock. If it tips off exactly at the right time, just before 1 o'clock. They're going to take on the Baylor Bears. We've talked a little bit about this, but we wanted to dive in more to it. Landon, I saw something pretty interesting about Mississippi State. We talked about it yesterday, how you need to show that progress and take that step forward. And if my computer will work with me, I'll tell you the exact stat. But I will say, so they made their tournament 3 years in a row. They made the first four, then they lost in the first round, and then obviously in the first round this year. So they haven't made the second round, and it's not even letting me look it up. But there we go, finally. And they haven't made the second round since the 2007-2008 season. That's how long it's been.
Man, I was in high school.
Yeah. And they've only made it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the sixth time since then. So it's not like they've been a perennial team in the tournament. Except for Chris Jans has made them a perennial team in it. But yeah, so this year you can do something you haven't done since then, and almost a little over 15 years. So you got a great chance to get it done. We talked about some of the things, and I think it was in the first episode, some of the initial things that I like. The more I look at this matchup for Mississippi State, the more I really like their chances. I really like Mississippi State in this game, and I've looked at several expert predictions, and experts talk about it. For the most part, they like Mississippi State, although I would say it's probably closer to 60-40, maybe 70-30. Because there's a lot of respect for Baylor. What Scott Drew has done at Baylor can be understated.
Amazing.
Yes, and this year obviously hasn't gone how they wanted it to go, but they're still a very good team. But I think Mississippi State's offensive rebounding, like we talked about, is going to be huge. Both teams do that well. Overall rebounding will be huge. Mississippi State averages 4.6 blocks per game. That's 37th in the country, 45th in scoring at 79.8. This is going to be a fun game. Both teams, I expect to get up and down the court quite a bit, because 76.5 points per game is what Baylor averages. These are two pretty good, high-powered offenses.
Yes, and a lot of the things that you talked about, like the stats that come from the thing that stood out to me, is how much bigger across the board Mississippi State is than Baylor. I mean, when you're looking at the guys that are the people who are putting up the stats for Baylor, you got one guy over 6'5", really?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they have a nominal forward, or who plays the center, who's 6'10", but he's not doing a lot. I think he plays like 23, 24 minutes a game, somewhere in there. It's not like he's out there a lot. And Mississippi State is a big team, across the board. We've talked a lot about how Hubbard's a smaller guard, but I mean, outside of him, it's everyone's like 6'4" and up, really, that plays a lot. So I think that could be huge, coming from steals, deflections, blocks, rebounding. I mean, all the small, like the hustle stats, all of that. I mean, just being longer and bigger gives you an advantage in that.
Well, and one thing I also noticed, steals. Mississippi State's one of the best in the country in steals. Obviously, we knew that. They average 9.2 per game. That's 16th in the country. But Baylor's one of the worst at turning it over. They turn it over 11 times per game. That's 252nd in the country. We talked about Edgecombe being a very talented true but he's a true freshman. He's very talented, but he's a true freshman. They have 3 guys. 2 of them are guards, and one of them is a forward, Omar, their leading scorer. They average 2 turnovers or more per game. So that's going to be big for Mississippi State. I think if they can get the pressure on them, get after them, Mississippi State. The crazy thing about Mississippi State is they average the 9.2 steals, but other than Cameron Matthews, who averages 2.5, it's a lot of guys around about 1 per game. You have a long variety of different defenders that can pick you apart, get deflections, and do that. And so I think those, like you mentioned, the hustle, who's going to get on the floor first and get the ball, and then offensive rebounds, which is also considered a hustle stat. Those are the keys, in my opinion.
Yes, and I was reading, it was on The Athletic. I don't remember who wrote this specific paragraph, but he referred to Mississippi State as the junkyard dogs. I mean, and if they play like that, I mean, it's going to be a long day for Baylor if they're out there hustling and just playing that physical defense, like what we've talked about, how to beat Duke in that situation. I mean, if you play that same style, your size advantage is going to become a bigger advantage if you're physical and getting those rebounds.
Right. And that, I think that's what's going to be huge in this game. Mississippi State has, they have 2 guys that average over 6 rebounds per game, another guy that averages just under 5 per game. So, again, they're one of the better rebounding teams as a whole, 45th in the country. Majority that's from the offensive glass, 13th, 31st in the country with 13 per game. They're not a great defensive rebounding team, 138th in the country. And like I mentioned Monday, Baylor is an elite offensive rebounding team as well. Yes. So it's 2 strengths there, and neither team's a very good defensive rebounding team. So it's 2 weaknesses there.
Right.
So that's why I think that's going to be key, along with the turnovers. The more possession, I mean, this isn't rocket science. The more possessions, the more shots you get, the better your chances are to win the basketball game.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And there's going to be a lot of rebounds. I mean, Baylor has a couple guys that shoot the 3 pretty well, but I mean, no one is really a knockdown 3. I mean, obviously Jaden Nunn. I mean, he's 41%, but outside of him, their best shooters are around that 34, 35%. And
they got several good ones, but not elite ones.
No one that scares you to death that you leave them open. But so, I mean, that's going to lead to a lot of long rebounds, and they will shoot a lot of 3s too. So, I mean, it could be a quick, lot of up and down, a lot of chances for rebounds, a lot of second chance points. It could be, regardless of the outcome, it could be a very fun game to watch because of how these 2 teams match up with each other.
And on the flip side, Mississippi State only has 2 guys that are over 34% from 3. And so you need those guys to be on, because Claudell Harris and Josh Hubbard, they're kind of up and down. You could have these big performances where they shoot really well. But they also could just be dead cold. And so you hope it's one of those games that they're on.
You really do. And I feel like we just keep coming back to the same people over and over. If Hubbard gets hot, Matthews plays defense, does a little bit of everything. But to me, it's going to come down to the middle of, who controls the paint in this game is who's going to win this one.
And I don't want to give it away because we're going to talk about our key player.
I know, that's why I'm trying not to give up.
I have a key player, and it's not Hubbard or Matthews. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. Well, coming up next, we got to talk about the girls. We haven't talked about them as much. We kind of previewed their matchup early on when it was first announced, but we got to get more in depth into it. We'll have that coming up after the break. Well, we're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people with the Armada PRO-4X, is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada PRO-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X, Learn more at nissanusa.com. Well, daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. I know I do. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Now, I've obviously been staying up watching the tournament action the last 3 days, and 5-Hour Energy helps me keep up the next day while I'm at work, doing errands, whatever I'm doing. It makes me not want to fall asleep. Well, head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Make sure to follow us on TikTok. We posted our second TikTok just yesterday. So check it out. Instagram, we're posting our reels on there. So especially this weekend, later on today when the game gets underway, we'll probably do some kind of reaction. Maybe not like a video on YouTube, but maybe like just a podcast video like we're doing right now, but maybe just a quick little video recapping what happened in the game. We'll probably do something like that. So check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and Facebook. Like I have said in the past, we haven't quite got that done. Yes, but once we get that, we'll let you know. All right, Landon. So the ladies are going to take on the Cal Bears in the first round of the NCAA tournament for them. What's your early thoughts?
My early thought, I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the week, and it hasn't changed much. I mean, when you just look at that Cal team, they're so balanced across the board. We mentioned those top 5 scorers are all
big.
They're just separated by 3 points per game. It's hard to beat them. And then another thing with their rebounding, even they have 2 people who average over 7 rebounds a game.
Right.
So they're just balanced across the board. You don't have a huge height advantage or anything. It's a tough matchup, but I also think it's one they can win. It's just you're going against a team that doesn't have this is the person you have to stop. This is how you attack them. It's just you have to beat the team.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Between the two matchups, the men and the women, I feel more confident about the men going to win it just because of how balanced Cal is, how big they are. Yes, the women are going to have the biggest player in the game at 6'5", but I'm looking at Cal's roster. They got 3 girls that are 6'3" or taller. Another girl's 5'9", and another girl's 5'10". So they're very tall. Whereas, Mississippi State's pretty tall as well, but they got Okada at 6'5", but other than that, it's 6'1", 6'1", 5'11", 5'9", 5'9", 5'5", one of them. So that kind of worries me because that makes me think that Cal could control the boards in this one. And they're 34th in the country in defensive rebounds per game at 27.7. They're 85th at 38.4. So they're a really good rebounding team. They don't do a great job offensive rebounding, but they're overall a really good rebounding team. Yes. They also hit a lot of three-pointers and shoot a high percentage. 8.9 three-pointers made per game. That's 26th in the country. 16th in the country. 35% is 36th in the country. Yes. So they can light you up. How we talked about with the men about, hey, if the team gets hot from 3, watch out. That's Cal to a T here.
Yes. And speaking of that three-point shooting, I mean, they have 3 people shooting over 37% from 3.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not that you have one person who's taking all the threes and the rest are hitting the open ones. This is a team that can shoot. They can rebound. They're big. It's kind of what I talked about, how the men's team can take advantage of having that length advantage over Baylor.
Right.
The women kind of have to overcome that to an extent against Cal. And when that team is longer than you and can shoot like this, that's a tough ask. Again, not saying it's a I mean, these teams are very evenly matched over the course of a season with their records and everything. Right. This is just a tough matchup for them.
Well, and you mentioned that 3 of them shoot over 37%. 2 of them that shoot over 7% shoot 7 threes a game. So they both light it up. Like, this is a team that is going to get a lot of threes up. They shoot 25 3-pointers per game. That ranks, I believe, 26 in the country in attempts. So it's a team that shoots a lot of them and makes a lot of them. They also shoot 45.8% from the field. That is 31st in the country. So they're a really good shooting team while also having the length. That's why I don't feel as good and as confident about this game as I do the men's game.
And I agree with you on that for those reasons. I mean, it's going to take a complete team effort, to really overcome a complete team. And that's what Cal is. They're a complete team. I don't know how. I feel like I'm just a broken record because every time we're like, oh, they do this well. It's not that it's one person. There's 3 people that do it. There's 2 people that do this. Then it's just, I know it's a tough matchup when you come against someone like that. It's going to take you're going to have to attack them in a new way, get rebounds, out hustle them, out tough them.
Right.
Different ways.
Well, and it's going to be, you need your Kayla Jordan to have a big game. Obviously leads you in scoring, but I was looking through her numbers just because I was kind of curious. So she dropped the 40-point game against Missouri that you end up losing by 1. She has this massive game, 13 and 21 from the field, 5 and 9 from, I believe that's from 3. 5 and 9 from 3. But after that game, she is averaging. So the 10 games after that game, Mississippi State's 5 and 5 in that stretch. So they're not playing good basketball. And a large part is she dropped off. She shooting 38% from the field. She's shooting 21% from 3. So she was 5 of 9 in that game. She's made 7 threes in the 10 games since then. And then she's getting you 5 rebounds a game. That's really good. And her points is down to 14.5. So if you kind of compare that to the obviously the 40-point game is a massive game. So don't want to just compare it to that. But if you compare it to the 22 games before that, I mean, she was shooting 44% from the field. So that was up 30% from 3. So she's not been a great 3-point shooter the whole time, but she's not shooting 21%. She was shooting 30. That at least makes you respectable. And then basically 17 points a game. So she's kind of fallen off the last 10 games. And, the SEC tournament, she had a great game against Missouri in the win. So something about Missouri. She plays well. 21 points in that one. But then in the Ole Miss loss, she goes for 14, 5 of 12. Doesn't play bad, but doesn't have this great game. She's going to be key. I mean, again, how we talked about in the men's, your stars got to play like stars, and we're going to talk about that more when we talk about key tournament players. That's what has to happen for the women to have a chance because you don't have the balance that Cal has. Right. Cal has 7 stars or whatever you want to say. So they don't need all of them to play well at once.
Yeah, Cal is kind of like that team, and using a baseball analogy, they don't have that true ace, but they have 5 number 2s.
Yes.
And Mississippi State does have that ace in Jerkayla Jordan, right? But she has, like you said, dropped off a little bit over the last 10 games. And early in the season, she did have a couple stinkers. I mean, the 9 points against Utah, 6 at one game. She had another 9 against LSU. So,
2 points both in the year.
Yeah, she's had a couple just games that, and I mean, that happens. Every scorer goes through that where they just don't have it some nights or the other team just has your number. But, I mean, she has to be that player that's dropping 25 to 40 to lift this team up to really give them a shot to overcome Cal.
Gut feeling, who wins this one?
My gut feeling is Cal. It's just a big ask.
I think
it's a big ask for, to overcome what they're bringing to the table.
My initial reaction was I kind of liked the matchup, and the more I looked at it, there are things I like, but there's been a lot more I don't like, and I kind of listed a lot of those right then. That kind of worried me, and that's why I think Cal is ultimately going to win it, unfortunately. But hopefully we're wrong, and when we come on Monday, we can talk about 2 Sweet 16s.
And we'll talk about why we'll be okay being wrong here. But I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a fun game, but I just think in the end, Cal's just going to have a little bit too much.
I agree. All right, well, coming up next, we got to talk about who we think are the key players for a long tournament run. It might not be who you think. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. One more time, follow us on our social media platforms. Right now we have YouTube up, we have TikTok up, we have Instagram up, still working on Facebook. Last I heard, I think we're working on X still, so bear with us, and then
you can still follow us.
Yes, yeah, you can also follow us. Our ads are right there. You can check out my work on Athlon Sports as well, talking a lot of college basketball and writing about that. But we got to get into this final segment. Who is your key tournament player? It could be men, it could be women. I actually went with a men basketball player, but who do you got?
I went with men as well. And for this, it's too easy to say Hubbard or Matthews. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about that beforehand. You don't get to pick a star here because that's easy. And I kind of alluded to who I was going to pick earlier, and I did my best to not say his name in the first segment. It's Keyshawn Murphy.
Uh-huh.
I talked about how much length that Baylor does not have, and he's really the key to controlling the paint for Mississippi State and possibly pulling away with the game. And I mean, he's almost a walking double-double. I mean, he could have that. He's a couple rebounds a game away from just being a walking double-double, 6'10", 230.
If he started, he probably averages it.
Yeah. And so we've talked about the rebounding, and that's really what he brings to the table. Is if you let him cook in the middle a little bit, he might control the paint, get the blocks, get the rebounds, get you those second chance points that makes this one a little bit easier than it probably should be.
Right. So Landon can attest, we do not talk about who we're picking beforehand, do we?
The only thing we talked about was no Hubbard or Matthews.
Yeah, we weren't going to go Hubbard and Matthews. And my reason for that is they are stars for a reason, that you hope they play like stars. So I didn't want to go with a star. Those guys, obviously, everyone knows if they don't play well, you don't have a great chance of winning. Everyone knows that. But who is a guy that maybe you're an evenly matched team, your stars are playing well, their stars are playing well, and this guy gets you over the hump? That's kind of how I took this. I actually was going to go with Murphy as well, but I'll change it just to make it a little bit.
I'm glad you let me go first.
Well, right. I went back and forth between these two, and I ended up going Murphy, but I also think Claudell Harris is big.
Okay, that was the other guy I was going to pick if you ended up going Murphy.
And I kind of talked about it. And the reason, real quick, the reason why I went with a men's player instead of a women's, because I already kind of talked about the women's player that I think has to play well. And yes, she is technically the star. She's 16 points per game. But I kind of laid out how she had been struggling down the stretch, and that's why she needed to play better, and the team had struggled. Yeah. But I was looking at Claudell Harris earlier today, and he's just so up and down. So starting on February 15th, he scores 10 points. He's 2 of 2 from 3. Then he's 15 points, 4 of 8 from 3. Then he's 11 points, 3 of 7 from 3. All right, they win 2 out of 3 of those games. Then he goes 2 points, 0 for 5 from 3. 5 points, 1 for 6 from 3. 2 points, 0 for 3 from 3. And they go 1 and 2 in those games. Then he does play well, 18 points, goes 4 of 9 from 3. They end up losing by 1 to Arkansas. That was a crazy game, kind of last-second shot. And then in the SEC tournament, he goes 8 points, 2 of 5 from 3, but they blew out LSU. But then last game against Missouri, 0 points, 0 for 3 from 3. He's so up and down. He's either – and it seems like if he hits that shot early, it's going to be a good night for him. But if he misses it, it could be a long day for him. Yes. And they need him to play well. And I'm not saying he has to get 18, 15, get 12, get 10, get 14, and go, 3 of 7 from 3, or go, 2 of 5 from 3, something like that. Like, you just can't have these up and down performances. And that's why I think he is so important to this run. As I said before, I kind of hinted at if I was going to take him. I hinted at it early in the first segment where him and Hubbard are the only ones that shoot over 34%.
Yep.
Well, that's because Harris is either really hot or he's really cold, and so that's why it reaches in the middle. And that is why it is so important for him, because they don't have a lot of shooters on the team, and we've talked about three-point shooting being huge in the NCAA tournament. They don't have many of them, so they need him to be hot. They need good Claudell Harris.
Yes, they do. And yeah, he was the other guy who was on my radar for that exact reason. When he's hot, this team is different. You have another shooter on the outside that you have to respect. And that, again, can open up the middle even more for Hubbard to drive in there to get the easy layups for Murphy or Matthews down.
Right.
I mean, it changes the math when you're out there and you have another shooter that's knocking them down.
Well, and they go hand in hand. Like you mentioned, Murphy, if Murphy's having a good game inside, that's going to give Harris some looks. He's just got to knock him down. You just got to knock him down.
Yeah, it's that simple, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not, but it is. Like, it's a simple concept. It's not a simple task to do. But real quick, we didn't say it in the first segment. You got the men over Baylor?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's going to be a tight game, but I do think Bulldogs are going to pull away down the last 5 minutes or so. They're just going to become a little bit too much for the Bears.
I was about to say the same thing. I expect kind of a pull away the last 5 minutes, kind of back and forth.
We're really going to start thinking we're like sharing notes before these things.
I could see them jumping on them early and just kind of stay in a lead like that, maybe turn them over a little bit early on, like we talked about. But yeah, I think they're going to ultimately be too much in this game. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. March is here, so be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Jaron, that's Landon. Check out my stuff over at Athlon Sports. Give us a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Share, like, subscribe. Tell your friends about us. We had someone say that they, used to think this was supposed to be a daily podcast. Then it went away for a while, and so they weren't sure if it is. It is now. We are back full-time. Landon and I have taken over, so we are back full-time Monday through Friday. We post at 7:15 Central Time, usually in the morning. It's just when our episodes come out. So tell your friends. The count is back. It's no longer dormant. So we are posting, and we are reacting to your Mississippi State stuff. And tell some stuff you want us to talk about. We've gotten some great comments. Tell us who you think the key players are. We'll have that in the comments.
Give us your score predictions.
Yeah, and give some score predictions. So until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.